I don't think I ever met a person in my life that doesn't have some kind of traumas. We talk about trauma when a stressful event, and of course we face stressful events every day in our lives, overwhelms the person's existing coping mechanisms. What does that mean? It means that that event for me, from my perspective, from my inner reality, is so overwhelming that I feel that I cannot cope with it. So let me just personalize this a bit more. And let me tell you one of my traumatic experience from my childhood. So I'm smiling right now when I recall this experience, and that's not very in tune with the perception of trauma, but I'm able to share this experience with you, and I'm able to smile about it because, of course, I've healed all that past trauma regarding this experience. Not that I did that with all traumatic experience in my life, but of course I would select one that I could talk about without being too overwhelmed. So let's go back to the trauma. So when I was probably 6, 7 years old, around that time, I was doing ballet classes, and my grandfather would take me to those classes with a friend of mine that would do the same classes. And one day, we were just mindlessly walking towards the class, and I was wearing this blue skirt that had a lot of buttons and clipping buttons. So my friend was very interested in my skirt, and I didn't understand why. So my grandfather was walking in front of us, telling us to hurry up, and she decided to stop and just on the street, just open totally the skirt. So I froze in that second. And what happened was I was so embarrassed in that moment. We can look at this experience from an adult's perspective. So for example, I don't even think my grandfather understood that something odd was going on. But even if he had looked back and if he had seen me just putting myself together again and composing myself and taking care of my skirt, do you think that he had probably realized how traumatic that experience was for me in that moment? I would say probably not. And probably not because he was a person with no empathy, quite the opposite. He was so empathetic. But what this means is that for me, that experience was traumatic. But for people around me, and for sure for my friend, she didn't see any problem with it. It's not like I was totally discomposed, my skirt was not on the floor. So I just tied the buttons again and I was grand, apparently. But what I can say is from that day on, I never wore that skirt again, especially if I would go out with her. But I was so shy, so self, in a way, self-conscious every time my mom would suggest, for example, to wear that skirt again. And until this day, many years later, I still remember that experience as if it was happening today or yesterday. And of course, I can talk about this experience without getting too overwhelmed because I did some healing. And what I realized was that my body froze in that moment in time. There were things that I would have liked to say, that were things that my body wanted to do, that for some reason, because of the fight or flight mechanism, I couldn't do. So in that moment, I felt shame. In that moment, I felt like the floor was slipping under my feet. I felt that she would tease me for life about how she could overpower me. And all those feelings I was not able to cope with. All those feelings I couldn't express, first of all, because I didn't want to upset my grandfather, and I actually didn't want to upset her either, and I didn't want to give her probably the satisfaction of understanding and knowing that she was overpowering me and that I was becoming a victim of her own behavior. So when we talk about the reality of trauma, In a big part of the cases, the person just dissociates or switches off. So when the mind is overwhelmed by trauma, it finds it hard to store the events as past memories. And that's why a lot of past traumatic memories are kind of blur or people go into totally amnesia about them to save ourselves from continue to re-experience the trauma and from all that overwhelming pain and suffering. So every time we remember a traumatic event, we are actually reliving it. And what's interesting from the rational perspective is that it doesn't matter that I tell myself that that was over. Rationally, I know that was over, but I'm still, and my body is still trapped in that past memory. Trauma consequences, sometimes they take years to show up. They don't happen on the next week compared to the traumatic event. They take years to build up. And because of the nature of the body experience, they can be either very clear, like the flashbacks I was mentioning, or they can even be very, very subtle, like, for example, migraines that happen years after the traumatic experience. How can they be connected?